the terrorists. More on this from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
The army confirms that in the Al-Tira area, an operative responsible for rebuilding Hezbollah's readiness.
In a sharp escalation on Israel's northern front, the IDF has eliminated multiple Hezbollah and Hamas operatives across southern Lebanon in a wave of targeted strikes. The IDF action follows multiple ceasefire violations by the terrorists. More on this from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
The army confirms that in the Al-Tira area, an operative responsible for rebuilding Hezbollah's readiness was killed, a direct violation of the post-war understandings meant to prevent exactly this type of rearming. At the same time, IDF surveillance uncovered dozens of Hezbollah terror infrastructure sites in the village of Beit Leith. The headquarters, weapons depots, the operational facilities were hidden inside civilian homes and next to schools and public buildings. These findings were handed to the international mechanism responsible for enforcing the agreements, but Israel says the violations were ignored. 2 more Hezbollah operatives were eliminated in the Bint Jbeil and Blida regions, one while attempting to re-establish terror infrastructure, the other while gathering intelligence on IDF troops. Earlier, and after issuing evacuation orders, a significant strike against Hamas in Lebanon. The Air Force hit a training compound inside the Ain el-Hilwa camp, a site used to prepare attacks against Israeli soldiers. The IDF says precise munitions and continuous aerial surveillance were used to limit civilian harm. Lebanese reports say at least 13 were killed, and abilities that triggered last year's war between Israel and Hezbollah.
Israel's northern front is drawing renewed scrutiny after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a rare visit in President Ahmed al-Shaara's visit to the White House. More on this from ILTV's executive editor, Mayan Hoffman.
An Israeli public. The visit also highlighted Israel's strategic aim to remain deployed at the 9 posts captured after the fall of the Assad regime in December 2024. Israeli officials say forces are operating up to 15 kilometers inside Syria to intercept weapons that could be seized by Hezbollah or other hostile groups. But Damascus condemned the trip in the strongest terms, calling it illegal and a, quote, serious violation of Syrian sovereignty. Syria's foreign ministry said the visit was an attempt to impose a new reality on the ground and directly linked it to recent diplomatic developments, specifically President al-Shaara's high-profile meeting at the White House earlier this month. During that visit, al-Shaara told President Trump that conditions were, quote, premature for joining the Abraham Accords, and criticized Israel's continued presence in southern Syria. Damascus framed the Washington talks as a step toward restoring Syria's regional role, and argued that Netanyahu's visit was meant to undermine that momentum. For now, Israeli officials say that despite U.S. mediation, a security agreement with Damascus is not close, and Jerusalem will not pull out of its positions without a full peace deal.
Now, to help us break down today's top security headlines from Lebanon to Syria and even Gaza, we're joined now by Dr. Barak Books, the Patterson Chair in Security and Intelligence and lecturer at the Political Studies and School of Communication at Bar-Ilan University. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Barak, let's begin with Lebanon. How significant, in your opinion, is this latest wave of Israeli strikes compared to previous months of the conflict?
We have to remember one thing, that next week, on November 27th, we're noting 1 year of the ceasefire agreement, so it's highly significant. Lebanese presidency, the prime minister, and other political figures are saying that Israel is violating the ceasefire agreement. But as we saw on the report, they are not dismantling Hezbollah, albeit all of their, let's say, promises to the United States. It had to be finished until the end of December. And we have to remember one thing, the Americans know that the American administration is not working from December 16th due to the holidays. So they have to finish dismantling Hezbollah in 3 weeks.
Now, generally speaking, Lebanon claims the strikes were disproportionate, while Israel says they prevented future attacks. Can the Lebanese government realistically curb Hezbollah's power now or at any point in the future, or is that impossible under the current conditions?
Yes, the Lebanese army is being built by the West and trained by the Americans, by the British, by the Italians, by many other Western countries in order to govern the country. Now, there is a majority in the Lebanese infantry and the armed forces which are Shiites. So there is a dispute whether one Shiite can dismantle his own cousin even, but they don't have any other choice because many Lebanese are fed up, I can say, from the atrocities of Hezbollah, and they're dragging them into war, and there were criticisms even throughout the war. Now, I must add one thing. In the social media of Lebanon, we see many villagers returning to their homes in the village border, and so Hezbollah members infiltrating.
Now, Israel also struck a Hamas training compound in El Hilweh. We also are seeing a Hamas plot to use terror cells across Europe. Is Hamas growing, in your opinion, outside of Gaza?
There is the well-known method of raising funds to charity, let's say, for the blind, for the poor, from the impoverished, etc. And these funds and money are going to the weapons of Hamas and other terror groups. Now, they have these organizations, economic organizations in Europe, as was reported, in Canada, at the States, in many other countries, and plain people say, okay, we want to contribute to the civilian population of the impoverished and the poor people, but frankly, the bulk of the money, if not all of it, is going to rearm Hamas. It's highly dangerous because, as we saw, Hamas is recruiting new members in Lebanon. Hamas is regaining control in some parts of the Gaza Strip, and there had to be something done in order not to allow Hamas return prior to October 7th.
What about inside Gaza? What can we say about Hamas regaining control and rearming there?
We can say that there are two parts in Gaza. The yellow line that is practically the border between Hamas-controlled areas and areas that Israel is still inside Gaza Strip. As there isn't any interim interim or some international or Arab force enforcing some rule of law in Gaza, Hamas is governing. Now, as we saw that there is a publication by President Trump of the future of Gaza, with some sort of an international regime and an international force, I cannot say if it will be purely with the Arab states. There was even a publication yesterday that Yemen, yes, not of the Houthis, but of Aden, was asked by the United States to send some forces, as well as UAE and other countries. Now, we cannot know because these...
But the IDF says the attack is a direct violation of the truce. Within minutes, the Israeli Air Force launched a wave of strikes across the Gaza Strip. The army confirms it is targeting Hamas infrastructure throughout the Strip, saying every location struck is linked to the cell responsible for the attack on IDF forces. Palestinian reports say the death toll has grown to 24 as strikes continued.